should be recording. Yeah, we're on.
All
right, man. Well, this is our the first episode of the PUDcast with Mike and Jason. I'm Jason.
I'm Mike.
And we're here to bring you our opinions and our outlooks on, everything. Right now, we're just concentrating mostly on old school wrestling and old school wrestling angles, but you never know, man. We may go into other pop culture things, music, movies, who knows?
Who knows? We can touch everything. Just whatever.
Yeah.
Just if it's cool, if it's not cool, we're gonna get to it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, man. Basically, we're just doing what we do all the time anyway. We're just putting a microphone to it. So.
Yeah, pretty much putting our opinions out there.
Yeah,
for whatever they're worth.
Also, it never really stopped us from doing it anyway,
Exactly.
So we figured, hell, we might as well record it.
Yep.
Maybe somebody out there will actually listen to this shit. God bless you.
I know. They might.
Hey, man, before we get too deep into it, I definitely want to, thank you, Mike, for letting us record it here at your store at GameSwap. Come down to GameSwap and check out the latest in video games. Mike, you got any, the address, I don't. Maybe you want to.
Oh, yeah. 112 Northeast Court Square in beautiful downtown Lincoln.
Man, the best town in the damn country.
Yeah.
Depending on the day.
Depending on the day. Yeah.
Well, Mike, you had
Try
a good.
not to catch it on court.
Yeah. Definitely watch out for the street preachers and those freaky ass twins are around here, man. God damn. But anyway, Mike, you had a great idea for our first PUDcast, as I like to call it. And this is definitely dedicated to all the puds out there.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a shitload of you, so
Yeah.
hopefully half of y'all listen.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're the king of the puds.
God damn, if anybody
well.
knows.
We're not, that's the thing, just having fun with this. It's all in fun. And, just don't take it too serious.
We sure as fuck ain't.
We're not going to take it serious. The only thing I feel bad about is Jason has actually got a degree in communications and broadcasting. So he's legit, and I'm kind of the scrub that's here for the ride.
I'm over here laughing my ass off. I'm like legit my ass, man. You know how much technology changed since I got that goddamn dude? I got that degree in the fucking 90s, man. We actually had a class in smoke signals. Have y'all heard this carrier pigeon shit? Telegraphman. Oh, that's a little too new school for me, motherfucker.
Come on, that was the pioneer. That was the 90s was the breaking ground for everything.
It was, man. Too bad we're not there anymore, man.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I got to do with my degree.
Yeah.
So it was worth every fucking dime. But
of course, now as far as the technology back then would have cost you thousands of dollars,
Jesus, man.
as opposed to now, which you
just
can
download
pick
it.
Up, yeah,
just download the
pretty
shit. Man, this is a straight up, honest God, true story. I do some music recording too. I've fucked around with music off and on, as well. Well, I bought an old school, recording device. It's called a MIDI production center, a Kai MIDI production center. I spent $2,000 on that son of a bitch, man, in like 96, 97.
Yeah.
Took it up to the pawn shop about 2 years ago to see if I can get anything for it. The guy told me that he got more processing power on his fucking cell phone and could do more for free with a free app, man. So yeah, after a crime,
That's
dude,
depressing.
needless to say, man, I have a $2,000 paperweight.
Yeah.
But that's just technology, man, and it has advanced. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, Mike.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, man.
Well, and there's a lot of stuff out there, that collectors are looking for as far as old equipment. Unfortunately, we never had that. We never had the stuff that everybody's looking for. That is on the big collector market. That's worth hundreds to $1,000. And these hardcore collectors are looking for that specific thing. We never had that specific thing.
No, we may have had it 10 years ago and we sold it for $50.
We got the Radio Shack Tandy.
Yeah. Oh, God almighty, man. I got a closet full of fucking Radio Shack shit. Of course, I worked at Radio Shack, so it might have something to do with it.
I don't know. Maybe in 20 years, Radio Shack stuff will just go through the roof.
Man, I hope so, man. And I miss Radio Shack. I just want to go ahead and put it. I know there's still a few stores open here and there, but, man, I love Radio Shack. I miss it.
It was convenient.
Very convenient, man. Very convenient, especially for, like, the electronics enthusiast and, the hobbyists and stuff, man. If you needed a transistor, if you blew a resistor, man, you can just shoot your ass on up,
And that's a plug for for a company that's pretty much dead.
This is a shout
Radio
out.
Shack.
Shout out to Wayne Sisk.
Yeah.
If you're in the house, Wayne,
There
this
you
is
go.
for you, brother. But well, Mike, you had a great idea, man, for our first subject matter. You know, like I said, mostly what we're going to discuss is old school wrestling. We're huge wrestling fans. We've both been in the business. We've both been in front of the curtain, behind the curtain. We've both been promoters. We've both done booking. We both have performed in the ring. So I think we have a pretty decent insight.
But most of all, we're fans.
We're fans, man.
We're fans.
That's what it all boils down to.
Yeah.
I mean, we went.
We were fans before. We were fans after.
Yeah. The current product's a little up in the air right now, but
Yeah.
you know, we always go back to the stuff we grew up on, and you know, '80s wrestling, especially the Crockett's, obviously being from right outside of Charlotte.
There was questionable stuff back then too.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
during that 80s and 90s, there was a lot of questionable stuff.
There was some things, and I'm sure that as this podcast moves along, we're going to dig deep in some of these things. But
The one thing that seems to get the most, let's say, heat, it gets a lot of flack, is the Jimmy Valiant, Paul Jones Army feud.
the absolute, in our opinions, we've discussed this numerous times over the last 20-some years. But both of us, I think I can speak for you, Mike, as well, that the greatest feud of all time.
I honestly believe it really was. It went
Yeah.
so many years, and looking back, and you know, I had to dig back to where it all started. Absolutely, I think it was. I mean, it was just the classic good and evil
Yes.
feud between these two people that absolutely hated
Hated.
each other.
And
hated.
you felt it.
There was never a time. You had Dusty, you had Flair. You know, they had their feuds.
Great
and
feud.
then they teamed up when
Yes, sir.
Flair went face, you know, and they battled, you know,
The Russians.
Wahoo, the Russians,
Yes.
Tully.
Right.
But never at any point was there a peace between
Never.
Paul Jones and Jimmy Valiant.
And you know, I'll even add to that point, just talking about Dusty and Rick, because you know, some would argue that's the greatest feud, and brother, that's up there in my book as well. But you know, Rick always had his fans.
Absolutely.
You know, Paul Jones, obviously in the older days,
Yeah.
you know, before my time, was huge, and he was over and a huge babyface. But you know, we're sticking more with the Army
With the
era.
Army era.
And-
After his wrestling.
Right.
After his wrestling. And I even, you know, was digging back to see where this thing started between Valiant and Paul Jones. And as far back as I can figure was during that 81, 82 era Mid-Atlantic when Sir Oliver Humperdinck was in the Mid-Atlantic area and was having a feud with Jimmy Valiant.
Right.
Now, some of the House of Humperdinck was his stable, and that consisted of guys like the One Man Gang,
Right.
Greg Valentine, Gene Anderson, Ray Stevens, I think, and maybe a couple other guys, but one in particular, Paul Jones.
Paul Jones.
And this is when he was still active, wrestling
Right.
wise.
And what a roster, what a stable, by the way.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a big. Ivan Koloff was
And
another
Ivan.
one in that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's wow. You know,
Mhm.
and just you know, a little side note. You know, not to interrupt you, Mike, but you know, Mikey is much more of an historian than I am. Mikey's been into wrestling a lot longer. I didn't get into pro wrestling until around '85, give or take, and maybe toward the end of '85. And of course, I'm an historian as well. But I just want to throw that out there. Mike really has more facts and more lineage than I do. So even hearing this now, I'm like, wow, man, this is interesting the hell out of me, you know.
Well, I just, you know, I remember it. You know, I guess, you know, from what my parents told me, you know, I was watching it at an early age and just continued on, and the stuff I can remember, as far as remembering stuff that I saw on TV, was back in '81, as far as I can remember back, which would put me about 5 years old.
Right. Probably your first memories.
Oh, yeah, for
you
sure.
know, obviously, right.
I remember the House of Humperdinck,
Right.
for sure. I remember Jimmy Valiant, and Jimmy Valiant was a wild guy. This is the wildest person I've ever seen in my life.
Right. And you know, just to kick it up on my personal level with me, you know, me and you've discussed this a couple of times. I have a holy trinity of wrestlers, you know. Obviously, Hulk Hogan introduced me to pro wrestling through the A-Team and other
Absolutely.
pop culture. You know, he was mainstream, you know. I'm sure at some point a podcast will get into the Hogan, Vince McMahon marketing, juggernaut.
I'm hoping the podcast gets into an A-Team.
Oh, hey, man, brother.
That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. I wouldn't mind that at all.
Well, we got some format then, man, because you know how I feel about the A-Team.
Absolutely.
But, you know, like I said, Hulk brought me into it. Dusty Rhodes, who is my favorite wrestler of all time.
Absolutely.
He will always be my favorite. I identified with Dusty, and Dusty made me kind of care about wrestling, I guess. I mean, I was just such a fan. But the one individual wrestler that I saw before I saw Dusty Rhodes, I saw Hulk Hogan first.
Mm-hmm.
The next wrestler who just, man, it blew my mind, and that was the Boogie Woogie Man.
I mean, you're talking about the three biggest hills on the East Coast, from Florida all the way up to New York.
Right.
I mean, the biggest baby faces ever.
And the Boogie Woogie Man captivated me because he was so crazy, daddy. You know, he
was a wild man.
He was wild, man. He was so unorthodox, and he was entertaining.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm watching wrestling again. Because the Boogie Woogie Man has captivated me. And then, of course, Dusty come along, and I'm like, well, I'm obviously going to watch wrestling now. Horseman come along. I hated the Horseman. You know how it goes. And I was addicted.
Yeah.
And really, man, I've always said Hogan may have been the needle, but the Boogie Woogie Man stuck it in, and I was injected. Well, I don't want to say I was injected by Dusty Rhodes. That might.
Don't say that.
Let me rephrase that a little bit, but
if you will.
Yeah, risky business for real. But well, let's get back to what you were saying, Mike, just to kind of get back on track here, man.
But yeah, as far as that goes, now flash forward. I know Jimmy did some stuff in and out of Memphis in between that time, but around 83, 84, right at the end of 83, the beginning of 84. It really started the feud with Jimmy Valiant, Paul Jones. And at the time, Paul Jones was managing the Assassins. And that's where it pretty much took off at. The biggest thing was the cutting of, and you'll remember this.
Oh, yes.
I remember it. I saw it. I saw it as a kid. I'll never forget it. The cutting of Jimmy Valiant's beard.
Right.
When the Assassins
still a little before my time, but
tied up Jimmy Valiant in the ring to the ropes, and Paul Jones came in with the scissors. And if you've ever watched this, check it out. It's on YouTube. You can check it out. But you know, the Assassins have Jimmy Valiant tied up, and he's flailing, kicking around, and here comes Paul Jones with these scissors. Now, Jimmy at that time had a healthy beard. It was a big beard.
We're talking ZZ Top level.
It is huge. And Jones just comes in with those scissors, and this is the scary part. He's coming in hot with those scissors and just taking that beard off. Like, oh my God, you know?
Brutal.
What if he cuts too high?
Right, take half his chin off.
Jimmy's losing a chin. But it was
hot.
It was hot.
It's hot.
Oh my God! And the people were just, just beside themselves. They were in tears. Jimmy, they just cut off this man's beard.
And I think it's also a testament how Boogie Woogie reached out to the people to get this kind of emotion, man. You know, that was the thing. It was his connection with the crowd.
Absolutely.
You want to be hated? Cut that man's beard.
Yeah.
Instant heat, man.
Oh my God! And not far after that, Jimmy was giving some great promos. He had great interviews about he had to go home and whenever his young son was born,
yes.
That's when he stopped. Obviously he's had that beard for a while,
right?
But he had stopped shaving because his young son was born, and he's had that beard ever since he was born. And he had to go home to his son with no beard, and his son didn't recognize him. Oh my God!
That broke your heart.
That's a heartbreaker.
That broke your heart.
That's a heartbreaker. And you're listening to this, and it's like, oh my God!
You felt the man's pain.
I can't imagine this.
You felt his pain.
Yeah.
You literally felt, and you also felt the hatred.
Yeah, exactly.
To the man who caused this.
Yeah.
Something as simple as cutting a man's hair. I mean, beard.
And he's, I'm going to get you, John. I am going to get you and everything. I'm going to take the assassin's mask. I'm going to take your hair. I'm going to take everything you have.
Payback.
Now, on the flip side of this, Jones is cutting some great stuff about Jimmy Valiant. And it's not funny at that time. But going back and listening to this stuff, and it's also on YouTube too, he is cutting some great promos on. He's got Valiant's beard in a Ziploc bag.
He kept it as a souvenir.
He kept it in this bag, and he actually takes it out and is making fun of the Boogie Woogie Man, holding it up to his own chin.
Getting so much heat, man. Do you? I mean, once again, to sidetrack just briefly, because I have an issue with today's current product. We talked about that, and I'm sure that'll come up as we do this podcast more and more. But that's more heat, right there in that interview segment that I've seen on WWE TV.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
in years,
Absolutely.
And it was just by cutting someone's beard. It'll grow back, people. But my God.
And the hair versus hair matches were a thing back then. They were a big deal.
I mean,
to my knowledge, that had never been done.
Right, and not only that, man, but it meant in my mind, as a kid, as a marked kid watching this thing, even as a marked adult going back and watching it now, man, that hair versus hair had more behind it than any title match. Because the titles were competition, man. The titles were athletic competitions. This was straight up personal.
This is personal. This was pride.
This was yes. You couldn't have put a belt on that feud. To be honest, man.
No, absolutely. I think that's the reason Jimmy was never put in a title spot. With the exception, early on in '83.
Right.
With the TV title.
Right.
He was never put in that spot because, honestly, he didn't need it.
He didn't need it.
Didn't need it.
Period, man. He was so over. I really do think if you would have put a title in that feud, it would actually taken away from the feud. It would have made it less personal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because even with Dusty and Flair, it was always about the belt. Mm-hmm. Who was the bull of the woods, as Dusty used to say. With Paul Jones and Boogie Woogie Man, it was about pride. It was about, being done wrong, and it was about just emotion. And that was what was so great. Now,
if we could take and look at this, I don't know. We're still in experimental stages of this thing.
Sure.
So if we can take a look at this interview with Paul Jones, and this is the one with the beard, and obviously there's some stuff that's going to happen, but there is so much going on in this interview from beginning to end. I don't know why people shit on this shit. I really don't, because it's stuff like this. And if you get a chance, go look at it at this era. It's '84 era, and you can look at everything. There's even a playlist on YouTube. It's called is it NWA Mid Atlantic 1984, a year in transition.
I've actually saw some of those links,
and that's where you're going to pick up most of this stuff as far as seeing what the progression of the feud in '84 between these two.
And you brought up a pretty good point, Mike. A lot of people, because I was on one of the fan sites on Facebook, and the Jim Crockett fan site, and there's a lot of shitting on this particular feud. I see it a lot. I know, and I also get to a lot of people on this page, are older, and they remember Paul Jones when he, and I understand that, because I could see how when you're coming up and you're so into a certain wrestler and then they change their gimmick like they did.
No.
I can understand that, man. But on the flip side, I think there might be a little bit of maybe a little closed-mindedness going on that's unwilling
Well,
to
indeed.
see the
Indeed.
genius, man. Because as great as a wrestler Paul Jones was, and I've watched some of the old footage, and he was great, man. He obviously was a tremendous talent, tremendous
gotta think,
wrestler.
You know, at this time, it was just Paul Jones. I mean, Gary Hart would pop in and out.
Sure.
I love Gary Hart.
Oh, Gary Hart was great,
I
man.
love Gary Hart.
One of the all-time greatest.
But Gary Hart was never there for the long term.
No,
He
there
was not going to be there for the long term.
You couldn't get invested in him.
No.
You just
If,
cannot
if
invest.
he wasn't the booker, he was not there for the long term.
Exactly.
This is pre-Cornette.
Exactly.
JJ's coming in and out around this time from
Right.
Florida.
Right.
And he's got the Long Riders, and eventually Buddy Landale in '85. But this is all Paul Jones.
Yeah.
Paul Jones is carrying '84
On his back.
as one of the top heels.
Yeah, and he was
top
great.
heel managers.
And he was so good at it. You know, that's the way I look at just the talent of Paul Jones in general, man. As going from being this babyface, hugely, tremendously gifted wrestler to one of the most hated heel managers. I mean,
And
come on, man.
yeah. And '84 is a tough time for
Hell yes.
for Mid-Atlantic too.
Yes, it was.
We've got Vince is picking off wrestlers.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
He's buying out. He's got Steamboat. He got Piper, Valentine.
That's right.
JYD.
JYD just left you. Yep.
It's a tough time for them. So
The expansion was gone.
Yeah.
You know.
So it was a tough time for Dusty. It was a tough time for the territory,
Right.
and I think everybody was there at that time. You saw who was working.
Right.
You saw who was really going, who was really busting their ass to get everything over.
Yes, sir. And Paul Jones is top of the list with
Yeah.
that, man. 'Cause
And I credit it. I mean, I know Jones was in North Carolina, a lot of the time. He made North Carolina his home,
Sure.
but he was one of the Florida boys.
Yeah, absolutely he
and
was.
this company became the Florida Boys,
Well,
and they really saved a lot of
Crockett.
this.
And honestly, man, Florida was hot, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida was on
Uh,
fire. I mean, Dusty.
Dusty came out of
It
there.
goes right back to Dusty, man. And I mean, and like I said, we're definitely going to get into some Dusty as we go, because like I said, everybody who knows me personally knows how I feel about Dusty Rhodes, and hopefully maybe some people who don't know me will listen to this podcast and learn how I feel about Dusty. But Dusty was the greatest, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was the greatest in front of the camera, behind the camera. I mean, he was just in my opinion, Dusty Rhodes was the greatest entertainer to ever live. But we will get to that at some point.
Sure
So
will.
let's get back on.
Let's
Paul.
get on this
Yes,
interview.
Yes.
Let's get on this interview. We're going to watch along with this interview right now, and it's just mostly just for us and our reaction
Right.
as far as guiding this whole story along, this whole arc.
That is so cold.
That is tremendous. That's a lot of beard.
That is a lot of beard. That's a lot of heat.
Yes. Good old Bob Caudle too.
Bob Caudle gets his props on this show, brother.
Absolutely.
The voice of pro
The
wrestling.
best.
Absolutely.
Now here we're looking at the assassins and tying up, and man, Jimmy is wild man right here.
He is so haggard looking.
Yeah, I mean, he actually looked. If he had cut off blue jeans and a bone, he would look like one of the
It's
Moondogs.
Moondog. Yes.
Absolutely.
Moondog Jimmy.
That's how full he is right now. But yeah, he is.
Oh
going
my
to
God.
Town. I mean, he
They
is going
are
to town
bush
with
hogging
those
that thing, man.
scissors. It is scary. And Jones is just
And he's smiling ear to ear.
ear to ear. He's so great.
You don't say that about the Boogie Woogie Man. And
Oh my
who's
God.
coming. Oh my
Oh.
God. It's Greg Allman.
But
Wait,
here,
no.
Here, look, pocket, and he's ready.
Oh.
He's got those scissors out, and it could have been.
That could have went south.
That could have went very south.
I love the Kiss
He's
jacket.
rocking that Kiss.
Kiss Army.
Oh my God, the Kiss. Oh, poor Bob Caudle. Scared to death.
And you believed it.
Absolutely.
You believed it.
Oh, poor Bob. Bob Cole's scared to death. This is the day. This is the day I die.
This is the day the Boogie Woogie Man snaps.
Oh,
this is it.
He's just waving them around, man, waving those scissors around. Bob Cole is just like, oh my God, I'm just.
We've always heard, don't run with scissors.
Don't do it.
But the Boogie Woogie Man doesn't live by your rules, man. He never did, and he never will.
Nope, absolutely not.
No,
I don't know if have you ever seen that?
No, that's the
Really?
first time. That's
Really?
the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, this is a little before my time. Before I started watching, when I started watching wrestling, and I know we discussed this earlier, and I may be jumping ahead. If so, we'll pull back. But when I first started watching wrestling, it's right when Pistol Pez turned.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just gotten into Pistol Pez being the Boogie Woogie Man's friend and his partner. So, in fact, the first wrestling show I ever went to at West Lincoln High School, the main event was the Boogie Woogie Man versus Shaska Whiteley, now no longer Pistol Pez.
Yeah.
So this was right around that time, and man, I
And
swear
we're
to
about
God.
to get into that too.
Yes, in fact, just another side note as far as the PUDcast goes. What we're about to go into is kind of why we decided to do this thing to begin
And
with.
that was the spark. That was the spark plug that started the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was the ignition point that really just got this thing going.
Because
Because it is. It's a little, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
As this goes, because there's so much that just happens.
Right.
I mean, there is so much of the story. I mean, it could be. We're not going to get this whole thing in on one side.
I mean, man, this is the greatest feud of all time.
It
I
is.
mean, this may go
And
into a
there's
two-parter
there's
or a trilogy.
A lot of history.
Yes.
A lot of history. But coming out of this is when going into the Boogie Man Jam.
Right. Once again, a
That's the
little before my
obsession.
time. Yeah.
The inception of the Boogie Man Jam, which was a Dusty idea.
Obviously. It sounds like Dusty.
Centered around Jimmy Valiant, to get another big event like their Starcade.
Right.
Before
the bashes.
Before the bashes, before anything like that.
Right.
This is the follow up. As far as that in between big show, summer show.
Right.
For the Crockett's, and to kind of weigh in on the Starcade
Right.
event, their summer event. For that time was going to be the Boogie Man Jam.
So that was going to be a tour, correct? Or was that going to be a one-off?
As far as I know, they toured it around.
Okay.
The big show that they had would be their big payoff show, but they toured around.
Kind of build up to the...
Right, build up and build around to it.
Right.
But their big payoff was going to be Jimmy Valiant against one of the Assassins.
Right.
It was going to be
Was this Hair versus Mask? Yes,
versus
I do
Mask.
remember this one, yes.
That was the big thing. It was going to be the Hair versus Mask. The Assassins, of course, would be there. But Jimmy would have Dusty Rhodes in his corner. And Dusty Rhodes was coming down. And this was the big thing. It was the big gathering, if you will.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Of Jimmy's friends.
Right.
His wrestling friends, and what we would know as the Jimmy Street People.
Right.
So you had
I'm
had Dusty. It was the main man.
Right. Bull was Bull in on this
Not
one?
yet.
No, okay.
Not yet.
So before the Bull.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bull wasn't into it at that point yet. It would be later. JYD.
Oh, okay.
But that was short lived because
He was on transition into New York.
he was going from Watts to Crockett.
on up to WWE.
Exactly.
I got you.
I
didn't even know he made a stop.
Yep.
I didn't know that, man.
Yep.
That's
It was
I'm loving the
short.
podcast, man. I'm
It was
learning.
short.
I love it.
See who else was in there. I'd say a few others if I can remember correctly, and you'd have to go back and look at who all was
In the
helping him
territory at the
that
time. Right.
I think maybe maybe even Buzz Tyler.
I was about to say maybe, yeah.
But Bugsy McGraw.
Bugsy
McGraw.
Another underrated.
I almost forgot about Bugsy.
Bugsy was great too, man.
I feel shame on that. Bugsy was a weird cat.
Yeah, he was kind of like Boogie Woogie Man to a certain degree as far as being the unorthodox, you know.
Kind of crazy.
Didn't need a belt or anything, like just kind of went on his own. Rufus R. Jones.
Rufus R. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Another one.
He was up there like that.
He was in that Valiant Street People crusade, but one in particular, and it came off of it just came out of a promo with Jimmy on the streets, on the curb in the gutter having the blues.
I think
Man blues.
I remember this vignette. I remember this.
And a limo comes up, picks up Jimmy Valiant. For whatever reason, limo. I have no idea. Boogeyman Blues. You
don't think a
you
limo.
Don't question it.
you go with it, man. You go with it.
But out of nowhere, walks up this thin, let's say, top heavy woman.
Not big. Not the Big Momma, is it?
It is
not Big Momma.
The Big Momma.
And brother, she was big.
She was.
God almighty.
Yes, she was.
Boy.
Like I said, she was big up top.
Big guns, brother.
But she probably weighed maybe 75,
I was gonna
80
say,
pounds.
man, soaking wet.
Soaking wet.
But hell, 50 pounds were titties. God damn. Man, the first time I saw Big Momma on TV, I thought my TV's in 3D, motherfucker.
Lord,
I was like, God almighty. Son of a bitches
something.
were melons.
It was something. It was.
There's Rax and then there's Big Momma.
Yeah. This was. We grew up at a time with Dolly Parton.
Yes. And big titties were the thing.
It was.
They really were, man. Yeah, like big asses are now.
This woman overshadowed Dolly Parton.
Oh, dude, literally overshadowed.
Literally. But she comes walking up, sashaying up.
I think that's when I hit puberty, by the way. Is the first time I saw Big Momma. I was like, damn.
And something stirred.
Something
stirred.
And you had to love her promos.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, those were,
oh, baby. I can't.
Boogie Woogie.
And they were together in real life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And why?
That's his old lady.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a straight up shoot, but yeah.
But she comes in, and she walks up to the limo. She looks like a street.
She looks like a prostitute.
She
does, man.
She does. And
I'm still not convinced.
I think that's what they were shooting for. In my mind. That's what they were shooting for.
Well, didn't Jimmy
I don't know.
tell Dusty at one point that he could have a run with Big Momma? Didn't he say that in an interview at some point?
Yeah.
So I mean,
It was. Share my old lady. Of course, it was
a different time. Man.
It was a different time, and Jimmy was. He was this biker. He was this.
It fit his gimmick, man.
Yeah.
Well,
you could share my old lady.
Yeah, I mean, it just fit. And hell, man, it may not even be a gimmick. I say gimmick, but I think it's just.
Hey, you can share my old lady.
Hey, man, be who you want to be.
Brother.
Be free, brother. Especially when you're the Boogie Woogie Man, you can do it.
Hey, there's enough to share.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
But I want to know, she has got this voice that is unlike any other, and you would know it from anywhere.
She from the country, man.
Oh,
she from the sticks, man.
Woogie.
He picked her up at the Holler people.
Oh my Lord!
So she comes on.
She can cut one. I tell you, she can just cut one.
Oh, Big Momma, man. The Big Momma Appreciation Association right here, brother. I miss you, Big Momma. If you out there, I miss you, Big Momma.
Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you. Oh, but this, and this starts off the Boogie Woogie Man Jam, 1984. Going in summer, hot. We get to the Boogie Man Jam. That main event with Jimmy and one of the assassins. This was and this was going to be the tall assassin. If you know, Jody Hamilton was the shorter, stockier, meaner, the one that talked, the one you believed every word he said.
Right.
Mean. He was the stockiest. He was not in this match. He was the taller, more fit, trim, muscular, silent assassin.
Right.
That was going to be in this. So of course, during the match, we get kind of the schmaz there at the end, and looks like Paul Jones is going to interfere, and looks like the assassin's going to take the victory. Up pops Dusty Rhodes. Hits the assassin with the bull rope cowbell, which, the bull rope cowbell, he is tied to Paul Jones to keep from interfering in this match. But he hits the assassin. Jimmy gets the pin with the big elbow. 1, 2, 3.
Done and done.
Done and done. Now it's time to unmask
Take it off.
the assassin. And I think this was ever going to happen. The Assassins were huge. This was a big deal.
Big deal.
Big deal.
Right.
This is one of their big tag teams. And off comes the mask. And who is it?
Big Momma. That'd have been a hell of a swerve, brother.
I think that would have been hard to hide.
yeah. That's going to take a lot of duct tape.
Yeah.
So who's under the hood?
Hercules Hernandez.
I remember that.
Of course, at that time, nobody
Knew who he was.
Hercules Hernandez
Right.
was. He was just working under that hood.
Right.
And guess where he would be going just right after?
He's following JYD.
Yep.
Up to New York Trail. Man.
New York.
Yes.
To become Hercules Hernandez.
And then later on, just Hercules.
Just Hercules.
Which I was a fan of Hercules Hernandez. I was always a fan of his.
He was good.
I always thought he was a little underrated, but yeah,
Big guy. Big guy could work.
he could work, man. Yeah, had $1 million body, man. He could work. Yeah, he needed some management. He was with Heenan for a while.
Yeah.
Correct?
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
because he needed
A lot of his run was with Heenan
Heenan.
until the fateful time that
Power and Glory, wasn't it? Power?
No. Actually, I just watched this. What was it, last night? When Heenan sold Hercules
the contract. That's
to the $1
right.
Million Man.
That's right.
And the whole slave thing became a thing, and then the turn with Hercules.
That's right. That's
absolutely.
That's
yeah.
good. Well, we'll get into that.
Get into that.
Yeah, stay tuned, people. we're gonna get in all this stuff.
So after that, we get to it. There's only one assassin,
Right.
and he is beside himself, hot.
Right.
Just hot. He is. Nobody has ever done this to the assassins.
Right.
So it's just Jones and the assassin now, and they're going back and forth. They go into a series of tape fist match. And after that, get to this weird thing where the feud kind of goes stagnant a little
Right.
bit. I think then Jones brings in the Zambui Express.
Right.
I don't know. If
I'm not
anybody's
familiar. I'm not
with
familiar.
the
I'm
Zambui
not.
Express. Oh my gosh.
So
I
my
can't remember.
What?
It was Ray Candy
Right.
and I'm trying to remember his tag partner's name. I can't remember offhand.
Would it be fair to say that around this time is maybe when the Army started taking its shape as far as bringing in unusual, exotic type wrestlers?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think this is a
if
spark of that, or?
if you take a look at the Zambui Express, you can kind of see where this is kind of taken off.
Because that was the thing about the Army. Because when I first started watching, I think the Army consisted of like the Barbarian. Tijo Khan was in there. Shaska had just joined. And I'm trying to think, was Abdullah a member of the Army?
I think at one time.
One time.
No, actually, yeah, definitely at one time during the '85 At 85 stance.
Because it seems like Abdullah was, because Abdullah scared the shit out of me.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I mean, we'll definitely get into wrestlers who legitimately
absolutely.
scared us, you know, because
Yeah.
just a side note, number one for me is Nikita Koloff, and always was and always will be. That motherfucker scared me to death,
Absolutely.
man, back in the day. Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
But Abdullah was up there. And I know we're going to get back on the timeline here, but just a little side note that I want to say. That's what I loved about Paul Jones's Army, is that with Crockett, NWA in general, they didn't have the cartoony wrestlers like WWE had. But when they did have them that were really gimmicked up, like Abdullah, like T.J. Khan, you put them with Paul Jones and Barbarian as well, and it gives them that reality.
No,
you know what I'm saying? It almost like it brings a certain amount of, I'm not trying, legitimacy, I guess. You know, it's like, well, you're all crazy and cartoony, but we're going to put you with the Army to face Boogie Woogie, and it made perfect sense, man, and it worked, and it was realistic, because Paul Jones is going to all these crazy corners of the world that, that we don't know about, to find these unusual wrestlers with skill sets to bring down the Boogie Woogie, man, because a regular wrestler can't do it.
No. Well, definitely. There you go. As far as the Zambo Express.
I am familiar with them.
They
I
were
do.
definitely
Yes.
like a Muslim type army.
Yes.
They dressed in fatigue.
Kind of militant black type gimmick, and they were out of AWA, correct? Or
I think, I honestly want to say,
maybe
we had Leroy Brown and Ray Candy.
Right.
And they had taken on the.
Because I do remember
they
this
had
tag team.
The working names at that time of, let's see, what was it? Kareem Muhammad and Elijah Hakeem.
And let's give a little shout out to this tag team for being really ahead of their time with this, man.
Definitely
this was a decade before the Nation.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
And they were rocking it, man. What I remember of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do remember them.
I think it was definitely a jumping point. They weren't there long.
Right.
Obviously, they were going.
Very controversial in the 80s.
Absolutely.
Controversial today.
Absolutely.
This was in the 80s, man.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was not familiar, but once I'm seeing their pictures, like, yes, I do. I remember them in magazines. Mm-hmm. And I remember that they did have that first, that I can never remember, that militant black, Malcolm X type,
Absolutely.
Down with Whitey, blah, 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 that was really popularized with the Nation of Domination years and years later,
Oh, yeah.
So once again, man, looking back and just seeing people ahead of their time, man, knowing how to ride it out like this,
Yeah. And in a weird way, weird transition. Like I said, it was 84. Yes. There was a lot of weird stuff going on, weird transition.
In general, yes.
Zamboe, he brought them up from Florida as well. Those were Florida guys. But in a weird turn of events, and I almost forgot. And this is why it's so deep as far as the Jimmy Valiant Paul Jones arc. A man comes into the territory unlike any other at that time and takes it to a whole different level. And a man and a woman, I should say, and take it to a whole different level and instantly become enthralled in a feud with the Boogie Woogie Man. This would be Adrian Street and Miss Linda.
Yes. Once again, a little before my time.
It was unlike any other. And we're flirting with, almost like a homosexual type of gimmick.
It was a Goldust gimmick a decade before Goldust.
Right. And, they were...
Or Adrian Adonis, I mean, he was one of the first to have that endogenous type, is he straight? But he's got a woman, but, once again, ahead of the time.
Exactly. I thought it was.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Even today, just like we were talking about the Zimbabwe Express, man, even with today's, everybody's more open now, of course, from homosexuality, things like that, man. Society's getting a lot better at accepting people. But even today, with that acceptance that we have, man, that would still be controversial, man. And once again, we're back in the 80s, a time that was not very politically correct, man. If you don't believe me, go back and listen to a Jim Cornette promo from like 1984 on
well,
up.
even with the Boogie Woogie Man promos
yes.
against Adrian, it's
yes.
definitely, you know, there was some touchy stuff.
Yes,
Stuff there.
Right.
But it becomes a huge thing between them. So Jimmy not only has Paul Jones and the assassins, or the assassin, and the Zambui Express to worry about. He's also got Adrian Street.
There you go.
Okay, now here's the genius of this whole thing is, guess what? These two get in each other's way to get to the Boogie
Woogie Man.
So
they're feuding.
It becomes an issue between Jones and Street.
To who gets the Boogie Woogie Man.
Right. And it actually turns a turnable person, you would think, at that time, turns Adrian Street babyface to side with Valiant against Paul Jones's men.
And here's the thing, Adrian Street and Jimmy Valiant make perfect sense together.
For whatever reason,
it makes perfect sense.
It happens.
And like I said, man, I personally,
it was good.
Yeah, I missed this feud. I know of it in my history, you know, my research going back. And you once again, man, how could someone who's playing a potentially homosexual character right here and I love the great state of North Carolina, man. It's my home and I love it. But let's be honest, man, even by today's standards, it's still a little touchy.
Yeah. I mean,
but I go back to the 80s, and this man, it almost makes you wonder who else but the Boogie Woogie Man.
Yeah.
You know, Dusty, maybe,
Dusty.
But
maybe Dusty could pull it off. You know, I mean, but
maybe not. But we know
Dusty
for sure.
Did pull it off.
Well,
Dusty did pull it off with this whole idea.
That's it.
Made it happen.
And it worked, man.
And it worked.
And you know, once again, let's ask the question: could that have worked with anybody other than the Boogie Woogie Man? Maybe once again, but we know for sure it worked with the Boogie Man.
Yeah.
That we know.
Yeah.
And I mean, man, that's just a testament to how over you got to be.
It's huge.
And once again, man,
super huge.
Yeah.
He was super big. But this puts us in with Adrian Street. And Adrian Street, unfortunately, was not long for the territory before he would move on.
Right. Not to WWE.
No.
Believe it or not,
no,
yeah.
No, definitely not up north. If I'm not mistaken, he may have went to Memphis after that. Or may have went
Mid-South, maybe. Or world class, maybe, at that point.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Check that.
That's for another that's another podcast.
Sure
Yeah.
where he went after that point. Okay. It puts us back to Valiant and Jones's stable. At that point, and there was some inner fighting between the assassin and Paul Jones, which turned the assassin babyface. There you go.
There's
My
another.
God.
There's another one.
Another unturnable heel. Turned babyface.
Because of Paul Jones and
Paul Jones.
Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so you've got the assassin, complete change of heart because of Jones, because of the wrongdoing because of Jones.
I like to think the Boogie Woogie Man might have a little bit to do with that too. Maybe the Boogie Woogie Man got in his heart.
Could have.
You know,
Could
if
have.
you accept the Boogie Woogie Man, he will come to you. You know what I'm saying?
We got the
But you have to
Sunday sermon on
yeah, I
the
mean,
Boogie Woogie.
brother, don't get me started, Daddy.
Oh my Lord! But there you go. But Jones still has the Zambui Express. It's a big deal. This is going to take us into Starrcade '84.
Right.
And the now infamous street fight.
Tuxedo. It was
street
Tuxedo.
fight
Right.
between Jones and Valiant. This will be the first time that they've actually...
Oh, is this the first match?
First match
Really?
that they've actually gotten together on.
In this, like ever, or just with this feud?
No, just with this
This
feud.
feud, I got you.
This feud, as far as this feud goes.
Right.
Okay. Jimmy's going to get his hands on Paul Jones.
Right.
Okay. So we're going through, and of course Jimmy's stripping down Paul Jones, and he's got him. Paul Jones has the Zambo Express in his corner. Jimmy's got the assassin in his. And the assassin's also ducked out in a tuxedo.
Right. Yes.
And going through the match, the referee takes the bump. You know, he's not seeing what's going on. Jimmy has obviously got Paul Jones pinned. Out of nowhere, who comes in? J.J. Dillon.
Right.
Hits Jimmy over the head. It looks like a bottle.
Right.
It looks like a straight up beer bottle. You know,
May have been.
cracks him over the head. You know. And the assassin won, Buzz Holler, and the Zambo Express fighting on the outside. Dillon pulls Jones over for the cover. The 1, 2, 3.
There it is.
Now, the stipulation behind this match was...
You had to strip him down, correct?
No, the stipulation actually was you can get pinfall or submission.
Okay.
Or, there's no disqualification, which no disqualification. I don't even know why they even bothered with the Somalians at the end. But the stipulation was the loser leave town.
Right. Ah. Is this the birth of...
No, it's not.
Oh,
okay. You would
Yeah.
think that was coming. But the only time they ever did that was in '83. I'm talking about the Charlie Brown
from out of town.
Charlie Brown from out of town.
Right.
No idea who that man
No,
was.
nobody really ever figured it out, did
Nobody
they?
knows.
Yeah, nobody figured it out.
He came from the same place as the Midnight Rider.
Ryder did, yeah. Parts unknown.
Parts
unknown. A lot of people came from parts unknown.
He was
man.
from out of town.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah, but he was from out of town.
But we just didn't know who he was, and the mystery
Those
remains.
were unknown parts out of town.
Unknown. the name of the town was Parts Unknown.
Parts Unknown. I think, is there a place actually called Parts Unknown? I got a feeling that somebody has had to have named a town or a little municipal
something, man,
unknown.
a precinct or something,
It seemed
man.
like it would be in New Mexico or
Arizona. I'm thinking Arizona. I'm thinking smack dab in the middle of the desert. You know.
You would have to think that in year 2018 there's a
Maybe Montana.
Maybe
Montana.
But this
Yeah.
puts Jimmy on a hiatus for straight up hiatus. This is no Charlie Brown.
He's out. He is out of town.
He is out of town for. I cannot remember if it was 30 or 60 days.
Right.
One of the two, but he is on a hiatus to give this thing a break.
Yeah, let it cool off just a little bit. Right.
Yes.
Right.
At this time, the Zambo Express moves on.
You mean out of the territory?
Out of the
correct.
territory.
Right.
They're gone. Paul is building another army. He's looking at talent. In particular, he's looking at a Tully Blanchard.
Okay. Now this I wasn't aware of. Okay.
Right. He's also at this time bringing in the Barbarian.
Right.
He is also bringing in the former WWF champion.
Oh boy.
The superstar Billy Graham.
We need to do a podcast on how, in my opinion, that's one of the most drop balls in professional wrestling history.
It very well could be.
I've always said, just a side note, maybe something for a podcast later, I always personally felt that a superstar Billy Graham with the tie-dye during that period going against a Ric Flair would have been money.
That goes back on your boy. Your
He wasn't perfect, man. He wasn't perfect.
But even Dusty himself had one of the greatest feuds
with Superstar, man.
Superstar.
Yes.
Of course, this was not the Superstar
that we knew and loved. You know,
at that time, this was a totally different.
This was karate.
This was a kung fu superstar.
Wow. Drop balls, man. I mean, I was always a huge Billy Graham fan. He was one of the best promo cut of all time. I mean, Hulk took so much from him. You know, him and Dusty were always who's better. You know, I mean, I think they fed off each other so great. But man, what a wow!
Kung Fu master from Calcutta.
Yeah, man, it just
coming in like no other.
Yeah, see, even that smooth, man. Saying those little superstar. I mean, that's smooth, man.
It was, but
it just didn't go with the nunchucks, man.
It just did not go with the gi.
No, man.
And with the superstar. He was not the superstar.
No, and of all the characters and wrestlers that did not need to change their gimmick, was that one in particular. But we digress, man. But he was in the Army. He came in as a kung fu.
As the kung fu master from Calcutta. But the Barbarian, new guy, looks,
exotic looking, man, scary,
crazy,
nuts.
This guy will eat your face.
He will. He's a cannibal.
Yes,
I mean, for real, man.
And he is going to eat you. And just beat you up and just kill you.
Pinfalls do not matter. The man is he's hungry. He's there for lunch.
Hungry.
And that's it.
That's it.
And only Paul Jones can control him.
Absolutely.
And even then it's hard.
Right. Exactly. The relationship with Tully does not last because obviously
Tully was too good for the Army, man.
It was not a good fit.
Right.
Tully was on a whole different plane.
That's what I'm saying. He was too good, really, man.
I won't say he's too good because too good's too strong.
That's a bold statement.
Jones had a lot of great talent
True,
in his Army.
True.
And then we're going back to that thing.
True.
The Army, his stable getting shit on because.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think, to me, in my mind, I don't know that there was any better at that time except for Ole Anderson. Then the assassin #1 to make me believe he is going to beat the hell out of this person for real.
For real. Right. Yeah, I'll give you that, man. I can see that.
Everything he says, I'm going to listen to because, by God,
it's the truth. It's the truth. It's real. Right. I'll give you that, man. Yeah, I take back that.
A whole different thing.
He didn't fit, man.
No, I mean, you had Jones's strong personality. You had Tully's strong personality.
Right.
Tully didn't need that.
Right, man. He had it.
He was already there.
Well, I'll say this then about the Army, man. Those guys could use that mouthpiece. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Maybe that's what when I say too good, that's what I'm going with.
With the exception, let's say like the Assassin #1.
Right.
Assassin, he just threw a great promo. Assassin 2 did not talk.
Right.
Zambu Express, they did not talk. Very rarely, but did not talk.
Right.
They were just there. They were muscle.
Right.
Barbarian could not talk.
If he talked, man, it would ruin the gimmick.
It was done. Superstar, that was a whole different thing, but we're getting back to that. Winding that up. But around this time, looking 80.
This is probably starting to get 85.
We're starting to go into 85 with this thing now. With Jimmy coming back.
Right. Which is around about the time.
And just sparks that feud up again with Paul.
Picks it right back
Jones.
up. Picks it right back up.
Picks it right back up. Because guess what, Jones? I am back.
And he is looking for revenge.
Straight into it.
Yes. He's got his sights set, man. He's been out and he has been fuming and stewing on this for the last 60 to 90 days.
Absolutely.
So he is on a mission. He's only one person in sights, and that is Paul Jones.
Paul Jones.
Yes.
Well,
and it's real. It feels so real.
Let's get him back in the hornet's nest. Superstar and Barbarian. And it keeps taking those beatings, trying to get to Jones. Boom, here we go. Guess what? It's time for the Boogeyman to bring an equalizer in, a partner, if you will.
Boy, yes. Because you can't take on an army by yourself,
Absolutely
man.
Not.
You cannot do. Even the Boogie Woogie Man, as wonderful and great as Jimmy Valiant is, and always has been, and always will be, even he cannot take on an army by himself, man. And this is a legit army.
So he's gonna have to bring in the bat. Honestly, it's an axe handle.
Right,
That's what
right.
it is. And he calls it his old lady.
I remember that. Yes. I do remember that.
A big handle of wood.
Yes.
And the first thing.
Before Hacksaw too, correct? This is before Hacksaw.
I would say definitely.
I don't think Hacksaw had the 2x4 in Mid-South.
At that point.
You're right.
At that point. And Jimmy goes straight after Paul Jones. Wipes out, the Barbarian, wipes out Superstar, and goes straight for Paul Jones and injures Paul Jones' arm.
Right. Now this
to where he has to. Kayfabe injures his arm. In real life, Paul Jones does have to have arm surgery.
Right.
But that will put Jones in a sling.
So that the angle lines up.
Angle lines up. Fortunately for Jimmy, you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Absolutely.
And during one of these altercations, he actually, beforehand, injures the Barbarian's arm, and they put him in a work cast.
Right.
But Jimmy loses his old lady, and Paul Jones gets it, and hits Valiant. So now you've got the heels have his old lady, his axe handle. Barbarian's holding Jimmy straight up, and Jones and Superstar have one in, and they run clotheslined him in the throat with that thing, and all hell breaks loose. We got the blood coming out of the mouth. We got all this.
I remember Boogie
the locker
selling
room
that,
empties,
man.
and everybody in the place is going nuts. They have just killed
the Boogie Woogie Man.
Boogie Woogie Man.
The Boogie Woogie Man is splitting up blood.
Boogie Man, he's spitting up blood. Never seen anything like this before. Oh my God, these guys have just fucking killed the Boogie.
For real.
Yeah,
it's for real.
It's just got real.
Because I don't remember seeing blood coming out of mouths before that.
No.
In fact, the only time I remembered after that was with Johnny Weaver.
Johnny Weaver.
That was the next time I really remembered that.
Absolutely. Those things stick with you.
They do. They do. That's the thing about it, man.
The time you started.
This is it because I remember them hitting him when they did that double clothesline.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? I mean, really, it's like, come on, man, you don't do that to the Boogie Woogie Man.
Oh my God.
This was right around the time I started tuning in.
We will never see him again.
No, because he's bleeding out of his mouth.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
This is watching this Saturday morning.
Yeah, this is right after cartoons, man.
Yeah.
This is
This is Saturday morning. You just watched this happen.
This shit got real.
Oh God.
I mean, it was serious.
The rest of your Saturday
was ruined.
Oh my God! I can't go play.
No, because all your friends and cousins and everything else done watched it too, man. Everybody's concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell, man? You can't go out and play damn flag football after seeing the Boogie Woogie Man spitting out blood.
You're on the phone.
You're on the phone, or you outside? Like,
oh my God. Y'all see that?
And dude, don't even talk about the first day back at school. Oh my God,
that Monday.
Man. That Monday was hardcore, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we had shit to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We had real shit to talk about, man. Like, will the Boogie Woogie Man make it?
Yeah. So there again, it was a big deal. It was a huge,
the emotions.
Huge deal.
And that ain't just with kids, man. No. I mean, that was the adults, man. That was everybody.
That's how much this impacted everybody.
Exactly. That's how.
And the area, and the territory, and it was huge. But leading up to this, in the following weeks, of course, Paul Jones is beside himself. At this point, we see the rare Sandy Scott coming in and making a ruling that
I forgot about
things have
Sandy
gone
Scott.
too far. Things have gone too far between Jimmy Valiant and the Paul Jones Army, and
which adds more realism because nobody ever saw Sandy Scott. Hell, I forgot about Sandy Scott.
Sandy Scott, you didn't see Sandy Scott.
Unless that shit was serious.
Unless it was serious, big title, big
deal.
Absolutely.
It was a big deal.
Came in to make that ruling, from the NWA that, this thing, you cannot, not Big Momma, I'm sorry. Jimmy Valiant's old lady, the axe handle, could not be used anywhere anymore.
Banned for life. Right.
Banned. And also that Paul Jones and Superstar and the Barbarian were going to be suspended for what they did to the Boogie Man. Okay, now that's a big enough deal. Jimmy Valiant is there in the following weeks. He's got his throat taped up.
Right.
Cannot speak.
I remember that. Yes.
Cannot speak.
Sold the hell out of it, man.
So he has to have somebody there with him to communicate for him. He's also using a chalkboard and a piece of chalk to write on.
Now I don't remember that part. I don't.
That
I'm gonna have to go
is
back
a
and look
thing-
for that.
It is a thing of it's a thing of it's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
You just have to see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
see
to
it.
pull
You have
this
to see
out,
it.
man.
But that is the way he is communicating on camera. Is full commitment.
Now is he drawing pictures or is he?
No, he is writing words.
It'd be even better if he was doing
He's doing
hieroglyphics or
pictures.
something. Pictionary.
The Pictionary. Yeah, draw out what he's gonna
Do
gonna
Saw Jones stick figure, break him in
figures.
half. Have his hair cut, you know.
Yeah. Draw out, scissors and
That would have been great, honestly.
stick figures with X's on
on
their
their
eyes.
eyes. Yes. Frowns.
Frowns. But he is communicating through the chalkboard,
Selling
the
it, man.
cameras,
Selling it.
and there was one particular interview with Bob Cottle that is priceless. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to be the serious. It is supposed to be the serious moment. And it's no fault of Bob's, it's no fault of the Valiants, but it is, I find it just unbelievably hilarious. Where Bob Cottle is interviewing the Boogie Man, and he's having to, write on his chalkboard, and Bob Cottle just spouts out, "I have communicated with the Boogie Man."
Damn it, Bob. Putting it over. Putting it over, man.
Putting it over. We're watching, Bob. We're watching.
We're here with you,
here
brother.
with you.
We're
see
right
him,
here.
We see him writing on the chalkboard. We can see what he's writing on the chalkboard.
Now, Bob, he liked to have a couple drinks here and there, didn't he? Wasn't that one of the rumors back in the day?
I don't know that was the case.
I've heard rumors of that. I don't know. It just.
I think he just came off too straight laced for any of that nonsense. To me. Maybe afterwards,
Maybe.
Some of the stuff that.
Well, he's dealing with the
Especially
Boogie
if
Woogie Man.
If you're dealing with the Boogie Woogie Man.
That'll make you
blame
drink,
him.
man.
He's slinging around scissors and communicating with chalkboards and.
I don't even drink, man. I might have to get a beer after that one. I'm
and
not gonna lie.
And then he's got Big Momma coming out.
Now that's enough to make you want to take
Bob,
a couple shots.
Bob.
I was up here, Bob. I was
Let
up
me
here.
tell you, Bob Cottle got put through a lot of shit. I mean, he saw a lot of shit.
And I'm gonna tell you, man, we've said it earlier in this podcast. We're gonna say it again, man. Bob Cottle, in my opinion, the only true voice of professional wrestling, man.
Well, I'll say for that.
Gordon
area,
Soley as well, man.
I love Gordon. I think so. But for Mid-Atlantic area,
For our time,
that was Bob Cottle was it.
it was it, man. No, you didn't get any
Yeah.
better, man. He made it.
I love Crockett. I love
Sure,
Shivani.
I love Shivani too, man. Yeah,
But
and I love David Crockett. A lot of people don't.
I even really love. And a lot of people disagree with me on this. I love when Weaver was with
I did too.
Bob Cottle.
I did too.
I loved Weaver.
And you know, man, I know once again, just kind of going off the rails and getting it back on. I just want to give props to David Crockett's commentary, man. A lot of people hate on it.
We'll definitely
That's
underappreciated.
Dude, give me one more commentator that sold anything like David Crockett. Man,
Jim
Magnum.
Ross.
Yeah, he's a great one
You
too,
look-
man.
you
He's a
look at
great
that
one. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, no, sorry. With the UWF.
The old
Mid-South.
yeah, man, he was
And
great.
then you go into that Raw, the Raw stuff and the Attitude Era. Oh my God!
But people give him his props.
Yeah.
You know, whereas Crockett, man, is kind of the opposite. People dog him out, and I'll give another
I
one.
think, and I think it's because Ross comes from that history of it. He knows
A student of the game,
the
as they
student of
say.
the game,
Yeah.
he
Absolutely.
he knows what's going on. He knows what the holds are. He knows
You're right.
scientifically the same way with Gordon Soley.
Solely, yes. Lance Russell, another one.
David was just.
He
was
was-
just a fan.
He was a fan.
He was a fan.
He was a fan.
And he loved it. He loved
And I
all of it.
And dude, he
Didn't
could
care.
put over anything. Dude,
Shivani was there. Shivani was there for the holds.
Yes,
You know?
yes. But Crockett was the color, man.
Oh, gosh.
And I've always said, man, Magnum TA could be eating a bowl of freaking cereal, and David Crockett would make you give a shit about that cereal.
Look, Tony.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Look, Tony.
Tony.
Look, Tony. Look, Tony.
Ladies and gentlemen, this morning Magnum TA poured a bowl of cereal. He didn't have enough milk. We're going to be coming back to you. But before the end of the program, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to let you know if Magnum TA found his milk. And man, motherfucker, I would send Magnum TA milk. I would go to the store and like, holy shit, David Crockett. I mean, and you know, Vince McMahon too, I put him over as another great commentator that maybe doesn't get his props. Well, but that's another podcast, man. That's another podcast. Sure. Yes, announcers will definitely be a good subject for us to do.
Well, we're going from here.
Okay, well, Jimmy's throat's hurt.
That's right.
He's
okay.
injured, yeah. And Bob Cottle communicating.
Communicating via the chalkboard. The chalkboard. And Dusty's there. Dusty's
just trying to help out.
Helping out, putting him over, man. Let's see where it goes from here. This is the start of Valiant's war.
Right. This is where the army and the war really start.
This is where it starts to get personal.
Right.
This is everything. From here, we go to the timeline history on this. Wow. Okay. I believe we go to the dog collar match at this point.
Right.
Which was another, and he makes the comeback off of that. He's a lot better.
Right.
Obviously. But from that we go into the dog collar match that Valiant is pushing to have with Jones.
Right.
And off of that, it's just another great promo. We have to look that up, and because Jones gets the surprise from a little fan.
Right.
Now, who's this kid? Nobody knows who this kid is until the kid turns his back to the camera and
yes,
says Boogie Woogie.
Boogie, yes.
Little Boogie Woogie.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
And Jones opens up the present, and it's a dog collar. Dog collar chain.
Yep.
Dog collar, and the kid lets his hair down.
And it's the Boogie. It's Little Boogie.
Little Boogie. This is Little Boogie.
This is the original Little Boogie.
Boogie dance and all that. And Jones goes nuts and he comes, where did this little yard ape come from?
Yes, I remember that, man. That was
in the floor.
What the hell?
I was in the floor.
Yes.
And he just loses it. Absolutely loses it. Let's see. We're still in 85.
Yes.
Going in.
This is pretty early.
We're going into the Bash.
Yeah. Going into the summertime. Yeah.
We're going into the Bash, going into the dog collar match. Going into the dog collar match. Nothing is on the line, believe it or not.
No, it's no hair.
Nobody's hair, nobody's beard, nobody's nothing. This is just
a straight up
dog collar match. Just because.
Yeah, right.
It's a great
grudge
Bash,
grudge match.
And it's something. And in the meantime, Jones's army, which at this time, Abdullah is at it.
Yes.
And they're in the Bash against Manny Fernandez.
I was going to say the Bull was a part of that.
Buzz Tyler, and young Sam Houston.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yes.
Would you like to take your guess at
who took the pin on that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey man, you talk about a workhorse.
Who's the fall down guy on that one?
Hey man, but what a workhorse, dude.
Oh, wow.
Hey
yeah,
man,
no, absolutely.
Dude, for somebody who lost so many matches, he was so over.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Sam Houston, man. I mean, I pulled for him, dude. He was always the underdog, and even when he lost, he never really lost anything because you kind of knew he was going to lose anyway.
Right.
And he always fought hard, man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was a huge Sam Houston fan, man. I really was. Still am.
Yeah. He's just. If he had more weight on him.
Yeah, that's what killed him. He was a small guy.
He was. Well, he was a small guy.
Well, compared.
As much as he was just a
thin.
Thin.
He was tall.
Very thin.
And he
too thin.
Cause Barry could do it, but
Barry had some weight on him.
Yeah, he did.
It wasn't like Kendall.
Kendall was a stream beam. I mean, God Almighty, man, he hid behind a damn fence post for real and never be seen again back in the day. Obviously, that changed as they turned back into the Blackjacks.
You think back, when Kendall was back then, he was so thin and just couldn't get it.
Right.
But then you flash forward to the '90s and that whole,
the redneck thing they did. Yeah.
And
he was a hoss.
He was filled out. He was a hoss.
He was probably like the most intimidating guy in the group. Yeah, it took a little while, man.
It took 20 years.
But my God, he finally hit him. But
not 20.
About
more
15,
like 10,
15, give or take. So all right, so let's keep going, man. So we got the dog collar match.
We got the dog collar match. Valiant comes ahead on that one.
Yeah, he won. Yes.
Didn't end the feud, obviously. It's just.
And this also started branching out Abdullah and Manny's feud to go into Starrcade later in the year, which is probably one of my favorite matches of all time, man. That Mexican death match.
That was brutal.
Jesus, man, that was extreme before extreme was even thought of, man.
Very.
Like I said, to this day, one of those matches is always going to be one of my favorites because it sticks out. Yeah. Back when blood meant something. When you saw a bloodbath like that, that was captivating, man. Yes.
Yeah, that was a massacre.
Yes.
It was brutal.
It was a brutal match, man.
This is brutal. This
bloodbath.
They just. There is no point to this.
No, man. No technical.
Hurt.
Just go in there and beat the absolute dog shit out of each other, and to put on the hell of a show, man, and a spectacle. And once again, a little side note on that. I'm sure the podcast will go into that, our favorite matches and stuff like that as we go on. But yeah, man, I just want to put that little side note that this feud with Paul Jones and Boogie Woogie Man led to these two being put in a little program together.
Program of their own,
right?
For sure.
Which once again, man, it is equated into one of my favorite matches, the most memorable matches of all time. That didn't even include Paul Jones or Jimmy Valiant.
Exactly.
Just to show how this feud splintered off into other directions, man. That really just to show the importance of it.
Right. Oh, for sure, definitely. That was a big thing. At this time, you see the superstar actually
start to go back to his roots.
He made the turn.
He went baby. Right.
He went babyface on Jones because Jones had blamed him for not
pulling his weight.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that puts Superstar and Barbarian in it.
Yes. Which once again, I would love seeing
for Starrcade.
Yes.
Going into Starrcade. At this time, the Jones Valiant feud cools down.
Right.
And
doesn't stop.
It doesn't quite stop. It cools down because of another hot manager that has come in to the territory and has started the feud with Jimmy Valiant and his street people, and that would be Mr. Jim Cornette.
I was going to ask if this man had a tennis racket.
And the
Midnight Express. Right. And talk about heat, bro.
It was.
Holy Jesus.
It was. It was a good feud leading up to that Starrcade match between those two because and you had two different types of managers. You had Paul Jones,
who can whip your ass.
I mean,
for real.
Yeah,
he could whoop your ass.
He can go.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to go.
Exactly. He knew how to wrestle.
He was a little more straight.
He was kind of mean. He was more mean.
Yeah. Diabolical. A little more diabolical.
Yeah.
And here's Cornette.
Comedian.
He is going to rip you. He is going to insult you 8 times before you even realize he insulted you the first time.
Once, yes. In a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
He was so quick.
Uh-huh.
And he was clowny.
Yeah.
And he was little. Everybody could whoop his ass, man. Can't everybody whoop Paul Jones's ass.
No.
That's just how it is, man. You don't have matches with the Boogie Woogie Man if you're gonna get your ass whipped, you know. But Corny, man, you know how I feel about Cornette.
Oh
man.
yeah,
That's idol,
But he's got a tennis racket.
Yes, he does. The great equalizer.
Absolutely.
Now it wasn't loaded, man. It was strictly for playing tennis on his off time, man. His tennis lessons.
It's a hobby.
Yeah, Mama Cornette paid for tennis lessons, but he never loaded that thing.
No.
Do you know in real life, man? I was watching or listening to a shoot. He actually did load it for real to get out of the crowds. I think he put a horseshoe in the son of a bitch.
He put a
for real
horseshoe in there
to hit fans.
To fans because fans wanted
to kill
him.
He literally
and his guys.
Yeah, and he did it without breaking kayfabe.
Right.
Ain't that the greatest?
Yeah.
He literally had to load it for his own personals.
He would have to fight his way. I mean, that
Big Bubba.
They were huge.
And I mean, even Bubba he was legit bodyguard, man. Right. I mean, he needed to have that backup.
Yep.
But yeah, so
I think at this point we should probably this is our good cut point.
All right.
We're at the end of 85.
All right, so we'll come into 86 and probably
where
start off with
again.
Is this where the Shaska?
This is going to be a lot of stuff happened in 86.
You're right.
A lot of stuff happened in 86.
So we pretty much did the prologue, I guess you could say.
We covered from basically the beginnings, kind of the beginnings in 83 to 85. But
85 was hot.
85 was a big year.
85 was hot, brother.
There's a lot of stuff that happened, but there's a lot more about to happen.
Yes, and like I said, this is what I'm finding exciting about our next podcast here is this is when I was really coming into the sport of pro wrestling. This is when I became a fan. And this is really the feud, man, that captivated me. I mean, obviously Hulk Hogan in New York was great, and he would beat everybody. Dusty and Flair, obviously, man, was great. Dusty, I'll say it again, man, I just could relate to him. But, man, you talk about drama, you talk about emotion, you talk about something that hooked me was the Jimmy Valiant, Paul Jones feud, which is what we're about to really get into, I guess, next week. It's looking like maybe a weekly podcast. And, ladies and gentlemen, if 3 or 4 of y'all are actually listening, we probably know y'all. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, y'all know us anyway. But, this is our first time doing this.
I want to say one thing before I hate to leave this out of this. We're still at the end of 85. Like I said, they were into the mix with Cornette and the Midnight Express. Jimmy's obviously he's building up the street people still, and
building up his own army.
To a certain degree. To a certain degree,
right?
He's building it. With the addition of Rocky King.
That's right.
Which a lot of this ignited because of Rocky King and with Cornette and the Midnight Express.
Right.
But one person in particular that joins the street people army, and Jimmy knows this person from way back down in Georgia. Miss Atlanta Live.
Oh, buddy. Brother, that's a podcast in itself.
It is.
It really truly is,
man.
Is. I was confused as a kid about Miss Atlanta. I was like, what?
Because at that time...
Because I was used to Big Momma.
I was used to Big Momma. At that time, because at that time, Mid-Atlantic, we had never seen or heard of Ronnie Garvin. No idea, because he was a Georgia guy.
Right. And that's how he came in.
Yeah.
Was as his alter ego. Hey, man, it was over. It was huge. And
like I said, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, a good place to start up.
It is.
That's a tremendous way to end our first podcast and to have a good cliffhanger for next week. Well, Mike, man, this has been great, brother.
No, this has been awesome, man. I really enjoyed this.
I've had a blast, man. I knew it was going to be fun, but I didn't know it was going to be quite this fun.
Oh, yeah. It is. I hope everybody kind of took something away from this.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just feel that a lot of people has talked down on it.
Yes.
On the whole feud and
been a lot of negativity.
Yeah, towards the whole Jimmy Valiant Paul Jones feud. Yeah, I think there not a lot of people have talked up to it, but
yes.
this was actually a very important part of Jim Crockett Promotions at that time.
Man,
without that,
what else would you?
I don't know what would have happened without that.
And think about all the television time that went into this feud, man. That was just so important, man. Like, yeah,
it drew people in.
It drew people.
You.
Man, hey, me and you may not be here right now talking about this if it was for the Boogie Woogie Man.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. Once again, just to put Dusty over, Dusty may have been enough.
Yeah, Flair was my guy.
But man, this feud. I mean,
everything in between that, there had to be something else in between that.
And it had to be good, and it had to captivate you, man. It couldn't be for a belt because you already had the belts being challenged here and there. You had to have that honest to God emotional, and to kind of flip it and play devil's advocate, man, being Saturday and Sunday mornings. You want a little bit of that cartoony aspect too that the Army brought to it without being hokey, man.
Right,
I think that's what I'm trying to say, man. Is they made cartoony type gimmicks, not hokey.
Yeah. It wasn't like up north.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
These were.
It was a legit.
Well, I'll say this: it wasn't like feeding Hogan or putting Bobby with the monsters and
Sure. Another great feud was
crazy monsters and gimmicks and whatever.
Right.
These, to me, everybody in that army of his, look at them, they were mercenaries.
They were exotic types.
Maybe
I'm
spending too much
No.
into it. Or, there's too much Rambo into it. Or these were all
maybe not enough.
They were all mercs.
They were, man. They were from different parts of the world that you had to seek out and recruit.
Yeah.
Dude, and it makes sense being the Army. Paul Jones' attire at that time, man. And
he still had at that time. He still had the suit.
He was still doing the tuxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to transition
into the actual.
We're going into '86, and we're going to go full blown
Army.
Full blown Army.
And once again, man, I think you make a great point with that. That they were mercenaries. Like I said, I always had, back being a Mark kid, thinking it was legit at this particular. I thought everything was real at this point. I can envision Paul Jones going to certain deep, dark, areas of like Colombia or to the far east, and going to this like village and find like a Kabuki type or I think was Kabuki ever under him?
No. Well, he may have been.
If he did, it was a brief.
I want to say. Now, I do want to say, Kabuki may have been there for a short time.
Right.
He may have got Kabuki to come in for a little bit of time. Kabuki was mostly with Hart.
Yeah, that's true, and that was based out of Texas.
He may have gotten a little bit on that, and I think he may have gotten Kamala as well for that little deal.
I think he did have Kamala, which once again makes perfect sense given Kamala's gimmick, and it's like he could take.
Those were guys. Those were short term.
Just you bring him in.
One spot.
Right.
Spot guys, and maybe be there a month.
Right. Just come in, do a couple of shots,
Yep.
feed the Boogie Man.
Feed the Boogie Man.
To keep the feud going, man. Well, Mike, brother, I guess we're going to say our first official PUDcast with Mike and Jason is coming to an official end.
Yes.
Definitely next week, man, we'll do the same PUD time, same PUD channel,
Definitely be back.
Hopefully by the end of the day, we got to talk about this off the microphone once we get done, but hopefully we'll have some Facebook information and some YouTube information, stuff like that. Once again, man, if you are one of the few people out there that are listening to us, friends and family, thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all.
I do want to give a little shout out to our local federation, our local wrestling organization. I went and saw a couple of the guys yesterday, and so this, our local federation is called the Millennium Wrestling Federation.
Right.
They wrestle on the second and fourth Friday of each month.
Yes.
So they will have. I don't have the date. I didn't come prepared. Which, if anybody is going to listen to this podcast long enough, you'll probably say it's going to be a thing for me. We'll get more information.
Yeah, we'll get you a link to everything, and let you know when the happenings are.
Yes. And definitely, and there's other things going to be going on around town. We got a Comic-Con coming up, which is
next month.
That's going to be phenomenal. If you haven't gone, please come and check it out. Obviously, Game Swap up here in beautiful downtown Lincoln, man. Once again, thank you, Mikey, for letting us come in here and set up. And
hey, man, it's been a blast.
I've enjoyed it, man.
It's easy like Sunday morning.
Hey, brother, I love it, man. I love it. And that's exactly, hell, man, maybe we ought to call it that. Easy. No, I like the I don't know. I kind of like podcasts.
I'm good with the podcast.
Yeah, the podcast got a nice little ring to it. If you don't know what PUD means, we'll get to that a little bit later on. We'll probably have an episode just on that alone at some point.
Yep.
But for y'all who do know us, you get it.
We'll have different PUDs coming in.
Oh, I hope. Yeah, David Hayes, if you're out there listening, I'm trying to get your ass up here. PUD number 1, get your ass up here, man. We definitely got to get a Committee of Pain reunion. That's another thing for our 3 or 4 people that may actually listen to this.
Right.
They'll already know what that means. We got to get the fellowship up here at some point, man. I want to get Blake and Chris up here at some point. Man, there's all kinds. Maybe some of the old school wrestling guys we can get up, man, and try to have a sit down. We can. The sky's gonna be the limit, man.
The sky's the limit. But most importantly, I think just to thank Paul Jones
and Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant, man.
Absolutely. Paul Jones passed away not too long ago.
Yes, very sad, man.
I think that was a spark that that was one of the things that got running in my mind. He was just so underappreciated.
Underappreciated, man. And I think across the board, man, because one thing that I had to discover, and I know I brought up the Crockett fan page on Facebook, in a negative way. A little negatively, but man, on a positive note, they introduced me to Paul Jones, the wrestler.
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar.
Yeah.
So thanks to those guys, kind of being like, well, Paul Jones was a better wrestler than a manager. And like I said, with some of the negative, indications of it, man, I was like, well, I want to go back and watch some of these matches. I want to go back and watch some of these babyface promos. And my God, man, I got turned on some pretty cool stuff that I wasn't exposed to as a kid. And it's a little negative, I think, that people don't appreciate the manager or the feud, and even Boogie Woogie Man. There's a lot of anti-Boogie Woogie people out there.
They really are.
It's one of those things, man, where you just can't understand it, but at the same time, at least we all have a love for professional wrestling, especially in today's environment, man. We may disagree about if Paul Jones was a better manager or wrestler, but at least we can agree, man, that era was special. And it meant something. Today's product just doesn't, at least in my opinion, it doesn't have it.
It's tough.
Yeah.
We'll get into a lot of that stuff later. How we feel about it and what we think is missing or lacking.
And David Hayes, if you're listening to this, man, this would be a great opportunity for you to come down here, man, because you actually still watch the product. Yes, I'm speaking directly to you, Pud. And David's also going to be getting his own podcast himself started, so we're going to hopefully do some cross promotion and some, put those guys over and they'll put us over, and hopefully maybe even do some exchanges as we keep this thing going, man. This is just day 1, man, but I'm looking forward to day 101, man, 1,000,001 and onward and upwards. And but yeah, David, if you're hearing this one, man, that would be a great opportunity for you to come and balance us out, man, because you still watch it and other people that still do watch it, man, I would like to hear their input and be like, well, hey, no, man, you've got it wrong.
Right.
This and this and this is positive, and like I said, man, I figure on this thing we're going to discuss, we're going to debate, we're going to have just all kinds of different conversations, man, on in my opinion, the greatest art form of all. Of all. And I mean, it's pro wrestling, man. You have athletics, you have comedy, you have drama, you have action, man, and you know what else gives you all that in one package. And man, I'm just proud to be able to have not only been a part of it, but to be able to still talk about it, man. And like I said, who knows? We may actually get a little following, Mike. I mean, hell, ain't but one way to find out.
Maybe people disagree, maybe people agree. We'll see. That's why we're here.
Yeah, and like I said, as we keep going, man, we'll keep innovating, and we want to bring it to the people.
Right.
And hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed doing it, man. Once again, Mike, thank you, brother.
No problem.
Man, this has been more fun than I knew it was going to be fun, but I didn't know it was going to be this much fun,
Yeah.
man. Just a couple guys sitting around talking about wrestling, man, but I guess when you put a microphone in front of us, hell, it just
happens.
It just happens, man, and it's cool. And
Well, we do it anyway. You know, the only difference is there is a mic here, and we are recording.
That's the only difference. And yeah, man. Hopefully we can continue, and like I said, we'll grow with it. And hell, I just hope the damn thing sounds okay. Shit, brother, I don't know. We might get on hell. This may never make it to YouTube. Hell, I don't know. But well, anyway, I'm gonna sign on off here, brother. This is Jason,
and this is Mike.
Thank you for listening to the PUDcast.
Boogie Woogie Man.
Baby daddy. Until next time, people.